From 1972 to 1994, Edward Kienholz and Nancy Kienholz co-created hundreds of artworks, ranging from immersive environmental tableau to standalone assemblages and editions. Both self-taught in art making, the Kienholzes grounded their marriage in the studio, their family, and in their observations of the essential and flawed aspects of the human condition. Ed and Nancy Kienholz's works bluntly confront viewers to contemplate the constancy of society's chronic failures: war, racism, sexism, economic inequality, religious extremism, political corruption, and all manner of injustice. In 1987, the Kienholzes completed one of their most ambitious collaborations, an interrogation of the country's highest court of law. Described by Ed and Nancy as a mobile tableau, the Caddy Court darkly and irreverently reimagines the Supreme Court of the United States in one of its original functions as a circuit court. For over a century, justices were required to ride circuit. In addition to serving on the Supreme Court, they traveled to and adjudicated in regional trial courts throughout the Union. Ed and Nancy's interpretation of this function of the court takes creative license, as they conceived of the Caddy Court as a roadworthy vehicle that could be driven across the country from state to state, such that their version of the Supreme Court could preside from anywhere. The Kienholzes created the custom mobile edifice by splicing together a 1966 Dodge van and a 1978 Cadillac Fleetwood sedan. The vehicle's exterior emulates the marbled colonnade and facade of the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. A blindfolded justice with broken scales is its hood ornament. On its doors, the unofficial seal of the Caddy Court of America bears the motto, "Under God we twist." Running down both sides of the Caddy Court is a checkerboard racing stripe of portraits of each of the Supreme Court justices from 1789 to the year of the work's creation, beginning with the court of the first Chief Justice, John Jay, and ending with the face of Antonin Scalia, who was nominated by President Ronald Reagan in 1986. It is both eerie and prophetic that the last portrait Ed and Nancy affixed to the work is that of Scalia. Following Justice Scalia's untimely death in 2016, the Republican Senate majority blocked President Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland to the court for 293 days, resulting in 2 new justices from the Trump White House and a precipitous shift of the court to a conservative majority. To experience the Caddy Court, the viewer passes through a portico formed by the van's double doors, which are lined with a law library. The Kienholzes' specific choices of titles belie the hierarchy of what they perceived as the court's priorities. The viewer enters the court chamber to stand before the justices, portrayed by 9 taxidermy animal heads and skulls in formal robes. A small-faced coyote is a stand-in for Sandra Day O'Connor, who was the Supreme Court's first female justice. L.A. Louver was invited by curator Anne Elgood to exhibit an installation-oriented work by Kienholz at the 2020 edition of the Armory Show. Given the state of American politics, the choice was clear. Although the Caddy Court has been exhibited more than a dozen times across the country and internationally, the work had not been seen in the United States for 23 years. With permission and generous support from the estate of Nancy Kienholz, the work was transported from northern Idaho to New York City. Upon its arrival, the Caddy Court was driven down the length of Pier 94 and parked in Town Square while the fair built itself around it. During the course of the fair in early March, over 1,000 people experienced the Caddy Court firsthand. There, visitors confided in me and my LA Louver colleagues that the horrifying scene inside the artwork was less scary to them than the actual court itself. This repeated sentiment hits the exact mark that the Kienholzes had aspired to make. In a 1987 interview, Ed Kienholz told the San Francisco Chronicle, "What we're trying to do is make visible the rush of fear that most people have when you mention the Supreme Court. I'm not denigrating what the justices do. It's just that their decisions are so important. The animals are in there because, ultimately, for all the laws man makes, the laws of nature are so much stronger." At this moment in October 2020, the future of the court is more uncertain than ever. Following the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in September, the Republican Senate majority fast-tracked the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett within weeks of the 2020 presidential election, giving the Trump presidency its third seat on the court. Backdropped by the global pandemic, President Trump has been calling into question the legitimacy of the upcoming 2020 presidential election, suggesting that the Supreme Court may have to play a role in determining its final outcome. Nancy Kienholz passed away last year in August, and if she had lived through until this moment, I can only imagine that she would be feeling equal parts déjà vu, irony, and activism. 20 years ago, she wrote this: "We made the Caddy Court so we could give our own comments on the decisions made by the Supreme Court. If we didn't like a decision, we could drive the piece to Washington, D.C., park in front of the court, open the doors, and set it up." As I write this on December 15th, 2000, I can't imagine a more germane time for this tableau to hit the road. Yesterday, the Supreme Court of America decided George W. Bush was to be our next president, regardless of whether he actually won the election or not. I am watching the weather to see if it is possible to drive the caddy from Idaho to our nation's capital. Timelessness is a hallmark of the Kienholz's work, and Ed and Nancy would want nothing more than for the Caddy Court to be on the road and seen at this very moment.